Hey, hi Ilana, I hope you are doing well.
Yes, thanks. I have exciting news for you. We have an urgent investors meeting soon where I must present all our products with all the new features.
Damn, I like this style of management. We have just settled on the plan last week, and now she wants another plan. Sounds really exciting and maybe risky a bit. So, what actually do we need to do here?
I need a stable version of the app with as many new features as possible. No pressure, but the future of this project depends on this demo. Make it happen.
Yeah, no pressure at all. I love my job. Okay, how to deal with this situation as a professional IT project manager? Where should you focus your attention? And spoiler, it's risk management. And how to make sure you don't lose job in the process. So we'll get through this typical project management scenario in this video, but first we must understand what has just happened from a project management perspective. And you guessed it correctly. Obviously, it's a change to the project plan. So all great project managers know that the first step is always to assess the impact. Let's think about it. The scope of work hasn't changed yet. At least no one asked for additional features. Likewise, the project budget hasn't changed. In our case, we have the same team with the same capacity, which is our indirect budget, but we may ask for additional budget to cover overtimes. And the main thing, a week ago I had this short-term plan with 3 features I needed to finish. And now the deadline has moved, and obviously we need to reassess our ability to finish the project with a new timeline. So, from the look of it, we lack just a bit of time to finish the project in its full scope, but that's a common mistake that many inexperienced project managers make. That's why it's critical to perform risk management activities again, even if you did it recently, even if you documented everything, which you didn't, right? Okay, for all aspiring project managers, a risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on a project's objectives. Right away, without any special risk identification techniques or project management experience, you can point out one critical risk with very severe impact. If something goes wrong with our application during the investors meeting, we are doomed. The project may be closed, the team released, and all the good stuff that follows. We can put that into our risk register at once, and the risk register is a tool to store all known risks, and usually it's a spreadsheet like this one, and I'll show you our risk register in just a moment. That's because we first need to identify risks. We can use some risk identification techniques, but what techniques should you start with in this case? Which one may help identify the most critical risks? In most cases, the correct answer is the assumption analysis. That's because, by nature, assumptions cover big uncertainties that we simply accept as true, and we build the rest of the plan based on those assumptions. And often project managers forget to validate these previous assumptions after a major change on a project. And here's a good example. Tell me what your first idea was when you saw the new timeline, and let me guess. It feels like you can push a bit harder, maybe work a few extra hours or on weekends and still get things done by the deadline. But without proper risk management, you would have put yourself into big problems. You see, with my old plan, the idea was to finish development by this date, and I assumed we will have more than 1 week to polish the app before the release into the market, and if we find any issues, we'll have time to fix them. And I made this assumption based on many release cycles we already had with this client, so it's our usual workflow. But with this new deadline, we don't have this extra week where the whole team may fix any defects that we missed. That's why an assumption I made becomes a risk with these new circumstances, and we need to log it into our risk register. By the way, you can get my risk register template as a part of the project risk management plan template. These resources will help you master risk management in all its aspects. The link is in the description. Here's a critical part. We're not done with risk identification. That was only my analysis of the situation as a project manager. Next, it's critical that you talk with the project team and subject matter experts about this change in the timeline. We need to set up a meeting with the team and stakeholders. The agenda is the following: describe the new request from the customer, then show the new timeline and how the current work lines up. Talk about major risks you have already identified. Then brainstorm all the possible risks in the new timeline. In practice, I'll use the following questions to encourage the team to identify risks, but I'll skip the actual meeting with the team because it took 45 minutes, and instead I'll share my notes from that meeting. Integration with the payment processor feature. It's a must-have feature and we cannot remove it from the scope. Moreover, it's about 60% done. But today, the team has some fears that it may take longer than we initially thought. And I have already asked the team to analyze this risk and provide me with the new estimates and timelines. Obviously, it's kind of a new risk. We need to write it down into the risk register as is for now and analyze a bit later. Next, the access to paid content feature. This one is also a must-have feature and it comes hand in hand with the first one. So the team has a concern that this feature has a lot of use cases. And usually it means there might be a scenario where we don't think through every detail. You see, under the time pressure, there is a risk of additional work here as well, but the risk has a big impact. That's because there is a chance that investors will stumble upon something during the demo. So let's make a mental note about this risk for now, and we'll get back to it later. Last but not least, AI-powered search through the whole application feature. So we haven't started this one yet, and it's a standalone feature, but it has political impact. The whole company's strategy is to adopt AI technologies in our products. Let's make another mental note about this feature and implications that it has. But before we move on to the most interesting part of finding solutions to all these risks, please hit the like button if you find this video valuable. Thanks in advance. Okay, in practice we identified more risks, but for the sake of this video we'll focus on the most important ones. So what should we do next? Now we need to decide which of these risks require our closest attention. That's why we need to perform qualitative risk analysis. This means we need to assess the impact and probability of each risk. I'll skip this step in this video because I have an in-depth video on how to perform qualitative risk analysis, and I'll leave you a link in the description. I think it's more important to cover what you can actually do with a project risk. In theory, we have the following strategies: avoid, mitigate impact and probability, accept, and transfer risks. But again, what does it mean in practice? For example, the first two features have a risk of going beyond the deadline, but there is a more critical side effect of this lack of time. You see, both features may also have hidden defects that we may miss, but investors will encounter them during the demo, and obviously it will lead to frustrated investors. To address this most critical risk, we must properly test the whole app before the demo. So we must perform all the quality assurance processes as if we are going to production environment, to the marketplace. That's a big chunk of work that we didn't include in any of the most recent plans, and now we have even bigger deficit of time and effort. That's why I decided to remove the AI-powered search feature from this scope of work. And it may sound like I can simply remove it, but in practice it's a separate challenge. First of all, I need to convince Lana that that's the only good option with my realistic plan, risk analysis, and all the estimates. But this doesn't stop here. Remember that this AI feature is at the top of everyone's mind, so there will be investors who will call it out. And that's where the top mastery of risk management happens. You see, our risk response tackles one risk but creates a secondary risk, because it will increase the probability of unhappy clients. So we must address it proactively as well. That's why I will ask Lana to start the demo with a short presentation of our product roadmap. We will spell out that the AI feature will come in a week or two, and everyone can join our regular demo session. As a result, we got extra time and tackled one risk and didn't allow another risk to get even worse. But we have a very high-stakes situation here, and I don't feel it's enough. That's why for the second feature I will also work with our business analyst, and we'll try to limit the functionality to 2 or maybe 3 main use cases, just to ensure that no unexpected surprises appear during the demo. And again, we need to properly communicate to Lana and the investors what they get in the demo build and when the rest will be finished. And keep in mind that we didn't promise to investors to finish anything by the deadline where they have the demo. That's why we have some leverage here. So that's another important point here. Don't feel obliged to meet the new deadline just because they decided to meet unexpectedly. So how did it go? What's the word from the investors?
Your plan worked out very well. The demo went great. Investors were excited to see the new feature, and 2 of them wanted to join the next demo. So, great job.
Now, the biggest problem is that it was just an isolated example, and if you want to tackle such a scenario in your real-life job, you must understand the big picture of project management. That's why you need to watch this video next. It will help you master all aspects of project management. See you there!